Infinite intelligence is infinite intelligence. And there are not enough words that could be articulated even in your entire lifetime to adequately describe the knowledge that infinite intelligence holds in relationship to you, in relationship to everything and everything else in the universe. This is mastery of understanding. This world doesn't just go around. This world is created. It is creation. It is not by chance. It is not willy-nilly. It is not airy-fairy. It is not by accident. It is not coincidence in the way humans mean coincidence. It's coincidence in that you're co-creating incidences. But timing of things, the timing of things is a masterful creation that we want you to focus on and just do your best to feel just for a moment. We want you to feel the all things are possible nature of this conversation that we're offering to you here. So nothing is out of your control. It's just that every path isn't the path of least resistance. Nothing is out of your control, meaning that there is always a path. You discovering the path has to do with your willingness to intertwine with that broader perspective who does know. Some years ago, Esther and Jerry were in Texas, and they went to pick up their mail at a little town a short distance from where their house actually was sitting. And when they got to this little town and to the post office was surrounded by water. They had sandbags in the doorway to try to keep the water out because the Cibolo Creek had risen from the large amount of rain. And so they couldn't get in to get their mail, but the roadways that they were driving on were high enough that they were fine, but the low areas were off limits to them for a while, for this day. So Jerry said, let's call our friends in San Antonio who own a 1,000-acre ranch, sort of right in the San Antonio city limits. And that Cibolo Creek runs right through their property. So if the creek is over its banks here, it's soon going to be over its banks there. And it runs right through a pasture where they have cattle and equipment. And so they called them and said, hey, just want you to know the Cibolo's over its banks and it's headed your way. And they had enough time that they moved the cattle into another field, higher ground, got the equipment out of the field, and then their friend called back and said, thank you so much. We were completely unaware. And we said, nice to have a friend upstream. So what we mean by this is something just that simple. Your inner being is in this altitude of perspective, of not just being able to see you where you are in relationship to the now things that are happening, but so much more. Everything, this path of least resistance that we're talking about, everything from where you are to where you want to be is known by your inner being. Everything about you and everything about everyone else that would relate to you is known by your inner being and their inner beings. And your inner beings and their inner beings are vibrationally in cahoots with each other. Vibrationally intertwined with each other for the well-being, for the upliftment of all. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand what good hands you are in? Do you understand that when your life has caused you to ask for something, how much energy and knowledge and energy that creates worlds is on board with you? But when you are doubtful of your own worthiness or not trusting your own ability, then even though that guidance which is available to you, you don't let yourself receive it for reasons of practicing thought. What we mean by that is by keeping beliefs going that you learned from somebody, that you learned from somebody, that they learned from somebody. In other words, most humans are not living in the now, which means most humans do not allow them access to the friend upstream. And we just cannot speak clearly enough the intelligence, the love, and the capability of that friend upstream. So much so that all things are understood because energy is in motion. And energy that is in motion is understandable by non-physical. And the way the energy that is in motion is turning out is understood by non-physical. This is not a guessing game. This is not an if game. This isn't your inner being trying to keep you from doing things. This is your inner being just always pointing you in the direction of what your inner being knows you want. Because your inner being knows who you were coming in, knows who you were as non-physical energy, knows who you've become because of every step of your life, and has watched every single incremental change in your determination of who you are and what you want. And is right there, ready to assist you. And here's the thing we so want you to hear. Inner beings ready to assist everyone else. Talk about win, 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 win. This can take a while because there's billions of you. Win, 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 win. Oh. So your inner being knows who you are, and your inner being knows what the world wants to hear. And your inner being knows where they are in their life experience. What we're talking about is the inspiration for the perfect, whatever it is always available to you. So the other day we were talking to someone who was talking about career, and this person used the word vehicle. So we said to this person, because this person had a job and then had another job and was ready for another job, but the thing that they got from our vehicle discussion, you keep thinking that you should find a vehicle that will take you the whole ride. So when you get your head out of that game, your inner being knows what stocks will pay off. Your inner being knows where you are in relationship to that. Your inner being knows where the lottery ticket is. Your inner being knows everything that you think that you want to know. Your inner being knows when your best passage through traffic is. All things are known, and things that Esther's vocabulary does not have the ability to articulate. You getting the picture? This is big stuff. This is big stuff. This is big knowing, and you may trust it. And most of all, and you're not going to get this just from our words, you are worthy. It's time for you to let what you will call these blessings in. You are worthy. What you're going to notice as this day unfolds is that impulses and insights are going to occur to you that you usually don't get. You're tuning to your higher frequency. And as you become more and more the vibrational equivalent to who you really are, you're what we call tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And that means you are in the receptive mode where questions will be clearer, answers that we are offering will make more sense to you. A question will bring an answer, which will bring another question. That's what the co-creation at its best is. But what you're also going to experience is the expansion of thought as a question brings an answer, brings a question, brings an answer, brings a question, brings an answer, brings a question, brings an answer. This is the most wonderful thing about what we get to teach you or to interact with you about. There is not a shred of evidence to the contrary of anything that we speak. So it's not hard to trust it once you allow yourself to meditate and raise your vibration and then receive that guidance. So let's be really accurate about this. This is big. This is why you're reaching for this. Trust comes from what you thought was going to happen happening. So that means if you're expecting something negative to happen, and it does, don't you say, I knew that was going to happen. So let us redefine trust from our vantage point. We want you to replace trust with alignment. Rather than go for trust, we want you to go for love. We want you to go for clarity. We want you to go for wholeness, because it's really easy to come to expect bad things to happen when bad things have been happening. Jerry used to say, get me once, shame on you. Get me twice, shame on me, because I should have seen it coming. Well, we're not really teaching that, but we get what he meant. You just have to know. And once you've had enough experience where you do know that, we say to people, start out with easy things. What happens with so many of you is you've got some issue that you want to get to the bottom of or that you want to resolve. But because it's an issue, you've thought a lot about it. And you've thought a lot about it from your awareness that it isn't what you want. So without even meaning to, You've got all this resistance on this issue, and then you want to start with that issue to gain your trust. Well, that's the last issue you should start with to gain your trust, because it's the hardest issue to start with to regain your trust. You've practiced. The subject of money is a hard one because you've practiced not having enough. And so what it really comes down to is you are lovers. You love, that's who you are. And anything less than that is not who you are. But you know what's so interesting? Wherever you stand, you often believe you are right. And even if you don't feel love, you still think you're right. So you think you're right, but you're not in sync with source, so you don't feel love. And so it's not paying off for you because you're missing some important elements. You can't be in hate or anger or frustration or doubt and be practicing trust. You can only be in love and appreciation and positive expectation and fun and lightheartedness, you see. When something happens and you're able to make the correlation between what you've been expecting and what comes, a lot of people who are not tuned in, tapped in, turned on, they can't get past your expectation. So your expectation evokes from people. In other words, that's what the law of attraction is. It's attraction, it's attraction, it's attraction. So you get what you think about, which means you come to trust those outcomes. But it's only when you factor in your alignment factor that you really have your ability to deliberately create. Did you follow all of that? Because you're tuned in often and you are in the receiving mode often. But it's tricky when you've got a question pulsing within you that literally blocks out the frequency of the answer. If a question is too dominant, the answer can't be heard by you. And your inner being can't shout it loud enough because there's no assertion. There's only allowing and receiving. So the specific answer is put some distance between. We're talking about time distance. Not a lot. Doesn't have to be a lot. But there has to be an awareness on your part. This is the question that I'm asking. And sit and write it and make it clear. Life's help you to formulate it. And then sit. Meditation is a really good way to clear your mind. But don't sit to receive the answer during meditation. Sit to clear your mind during meditation. Let meditation be meditation. And as you sit to clear your mind, sometimes at the end of meditation or sometimes following meditation, you receive the answer. And often it's a day or two later. And you know what the best thing is? You see, words don't teach. It takes a lot of words to get a concept across. But life experience gets it across fast, especially when you know what you know. So if you're clear about your question, did you hear us when we said the question and the answer are equivalent in terms of their oomph? And so if you have a really strong question, there's a really strong answer. And in your non-resistant state, something will come. Maybe you'll receive it through words. Maybe it will be demonstrated through life experience. Sometimes what trips you up is that you want it to be so obvious. You want to do what Esther's doing. You want to receive it in this way. So you don't let it come in any other way. But some of the very best things are the things that come in other ways. Non-physical is always, 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 always aware of you and always queued up, giving you answers. And to the degree that you're in tune, you're receiving the answers. You know what? You're so good at that, you don't even know you're doing it. So just chill. And stop trying to make it something different than it is. Just let it be. And it is our absolute knowing that there is satisfaction in this process for you. Just enjoy it. That's really the strongest key.